Imagine a giant mountain of cash. Crisp green $100 bills piled up to the ceiling. Now imagine a man in a $3,000 suit, walking up to that mountain, pouring a gallon of gasoline on it, and lighting a match. He smiles, shakes hands with another man in a suit, and they both congratulate each other on a job well done. This sounds insane. This sounds like something that would only happen in a cartoon. But in the corporate world, this is called a Tuesday. We grow up believing that the people running the biggest companies in the world are geniuses. We think they have secret knowledge. We think they have crystal balls that predict the future. We assume that when a CEO signs a check for $10 billion, they have done the math. But here is the dark truth. Often, they have not. Sometimes, the smartest people in the room are actually the most dangerous. History is littered with business deals so catastrophic, so incredibly stupid, that the deals did not just lose money. The deals evaporated entire empires overnight. We are talking about buying a dying horse for the price of a race car. We are talking about trading the rights to a gold mine for a ham sandwich. Welcome to Arca Insight. Put down your textbooks and grab a helmet. Because today we are not learning how to make money. We are learning how the experts flushed billions of dollars down the toilet and how the experts smiled while doing it. If you think your bad crypto trade was embarrassing, wait until you hear this. Let us meet the main character of our tragedy, the corporate savior. He usually wears a tie that costs more than your car. He has a degree from an Ivy League university framed on his wall. And he has a fatal flaw. He believes that he can fix anything by throwing money at it. He looks at a broken business model and thinks he is the magician who can turn lead into gold. To really understand why these disasters happen, we need to explain the concept of mergers and acquisitions like you are 5 years old. Imagine you are at school and you are bad at math. You are failing every test. Instead of studying harder or hiring a tutor, you decide to pay the smartest kid in class all of your lunch money to sit next to you. You think his intelligence will somehow magically float through the air and land in your brain? But that is not how it works. At the end of the day, you are still bad at math, and now you are also hungry because you gave away your lunch. In the business world, this happens every day. Giant companies stop innovating. They get fat and lazy. They stop making cool products. So they panic. They look around for the cool new startup on the block, and they say, "We must buy them." Let us listen to a hypothetical conversation inside the boardroom before one of these deals. The CEO slams his hand on the table and says, "We need growth. Our stock price is flat, and my bonus check depends on it going up. I want to buy that trendy new company everyone is talking about." The quiet, rational financial advisor raises his hand and says, "But sir, that company is losing money. Their technology does not actually work, and they are asking for 10 times what they are worth." The CEO laughs and says, "Details are for poor people. If we buy them, we will own the future. The press will love it. The investors will cheer. Write the check. Use the shareholders' money. They will not notice until it is too late." And just like that, the ink hits the paper. The check clears, and the countdown to self-destruction begins. Today, we are opening the case files on the most arrogant blunders ever committed. From the dot-com bubble hallucinations to the modern-day tech failures, where billions were burned on nothing but hot air. Let us travel back in time to the year 1999. The dot-com bubble was at its peak. Investors were throwing money at anything that ended in .com. If you put a computer chip in a potato and called it smartpotato.com, someone on Wall Street would value it at $1 billion. This mania leads us to the granddaddy of all bad deals, Yahoo buying broadcast.com. Picture this. The internet in 1999 was not the internet of today. It was slow. It made screeching noises when you connected. Downloading a single picture took long enough to make a sandwich. Yet, Yahoo decided that the future was streaming video and audio. They looked at a company called Broadcast.com, founded by Mark Cuban and Todd Wagner. Broadcast.com had 570,000 users. That is it. That is the population of a small, boring city. But Yahoo was desperate to be cool. So, on April 1st, 1999, Yahoo announced they were buying Broadcast.com for $5.7 billion. Please pause and let that number sink in. $5.7 billion. That is $10,000 for every single user. Mark Cuban knew exactly what he was doing. He took his Yahoo stock and immediately sold it. He protected his wealth. He bought a private jet. He bought a basketball team. He had the time of his life. Meanwhile, Yahoo woke up with a massive hangover. They realized that nobody could actually watch video on dial-up internet. It was blurry. It buffered constantly. The technology was 10 years too early. 3 years later, Yahoo shut down the broadcast service completely. They took $5.7 billion and set it on fire. Mark Cuban walked away a billionaire. Yahoo walked away with a very expensive lesson in physics. You cannot stream video through a telephone wire made of copper and hope. But if you think that was bad, let us fast forward to 2011 for a disaster called Hewlett-Packard and autonomy. HP was a giant dinosaur known for making printers. Printers are boring. Nobody gets excited about ink cartridges. HP wanted to be sexy. They wanted to be a software powerhouse like IBM. So, the CEO of HP, Leo Apotheker, saw a British software company called Autonomy. Autonomy claimed they had magical software that could search through unstructured data. It sounded fancy. HP executives did not really understand it, but they liked the price tag. $11.1 billion. Analysts screamed. They said the price was insane. HP stock dropped 20% the very next day. That is the market shouting at you to stop. But HP did not stop. They closed the deal. Here is the punchline. A year later, HP had to admit the truth. Autonomy was not a goldmine. It was a crime scene. HP claimed that Autonomy had cooked the books and inflated their revenue numbers. HP had to write down $8.8 billion of the value. Basically, they admitted that 80% of what they bought was worthless air. They bought a Ferrari and opened the garage to find a cardboard box with wheels drawn on it. And we cannot forget the tech giant Google. Even Google is not immune to stupidity. In 2011, Google was terrified. Apple and Microsoft were suing everyone over smartphone patents. Google panicked. They looked at Motorola Mobility. Motorola was losing money. Their phones were ugly, but Motorola had a lot of patents. Larry Page, the CEO of Google, said, "Let us buy them." He spent $12.5 billion on Motorola. He said it would supercharge the Android ecosystem. The reality was a disaster. Google did not know how to run a hardware company. The Moto X phone was a flop. Samsung and other Android partners got angry because Google was now their competitor. It was a mess. Just 3 years later, Google gave up. They sold Motorola to Lenovo for $2.9 billion. Let us do the math. Bought for 12.5, sold for 2.9. That is a loss of nearly $10 billion in 3 years. Imagine if you bought a house for $1 million and 3 years later, you sold it for $200,000 and you tried to tell your spouse it was a brilliant strategic move. You would be sleeping on the sidewalk. But in corporate America, you just issue a press release calling it a strategic realignment and you go play golf. The mania is always the same. It starts with fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of being irrelevant. Then comes the arrogance. The belief that we can fix this broken company. And finally comes the pain. The crushing realization that you just paid a premium price for a sinking ship. Now, we flip the coin. We talked about buying trash for billions. Now let us talk about giving away gold for pennies. This is a special kind of pain. This is the pain of having the future in your hands and dropping it because you were too busy looking at a spreadsheet. Let us look at Xerox. In 1979, Xerox was the king of paper. They made copy machines. But deep in their research lab in Palo Alto, called PARC, their scientists had built the future. They invented the graphical user interface. They invented the mouse. They invented the idea of clicking on an icon to open a file. But the executives at Xerox headquarters were what we call bean counters. They did not care about mice. They cared about selling more toner for copiers. Then a young man named Steve Jobs walked in. He paid Xerox a small amount of Apple stock to take a tour of the lab. When Steve Jobs saw the mouse and the screen, his jaw hit the floor. He started screaming at the Xerox engineers, asking why they were not selling this to the world. The engineers shrugged. Their bosses did not let them. Steve Jobs went back to Apple and used those ideas to build the Macintosh. Then Bill Gates used those ideas to build Windows. Apple and Microsoft became the two most valuable companies on earth, using technology that Xerox invented and ignored. Xerox gave away the keys to the digital kingdom because they were too focused on selling paper. But if you think that hurts, let us look at Hollywood. In 1976, 20th Century Fox was negotiating with a young director named George Lucas. He wanted to make a weird movie about space wizards and laser swords. The studio executives thought the movie was going to be a flop. Science fiction was dead. George Lucas did something smart. He told the studio he would take a pay cut. He would lower his salary by $500,000. The executives at Fox were thrilled. They loved saving money. But Lucas had one condition. He said, in exchange for the lower salary, "I want to keep the rights to all the merchandise and the sequels." The executives at Fox probably laughed in the hallway. They thought merchandising meant selling a few posters. In the 1970s, movies did not sell toys. So they signed the deal. They saved $500,000 on salary. Then Star Wars came out. The world went crazy. Every kid in America wanted a lightsaber. Every kid wanted a Luke Skywalker action figure. George Lucas did not just make a movie. He created a religion. Over the next 40 years, Star Wars merchandise sold for billions and billions of dollars. George Lucas became one of the richest men in Hollywood. Fox made money on the ticket sales, but they missed out on the real treasure chest. They traded a gold mine for a discount on a director's salary. The mechanism of failure here is called corporate blindness. These companies focus so hard on the pennies of today that they cannot see the billions of tomorrow. They are so obsessed with quarterly reports that they forget to look out the window at the world changing. Sometimes companies do not just buy bad businesses. They buy dead ones. They buy a ticket to the Titanic after it has already hit the iceberg. Let us look at Microsoft buying Skype in 2011. Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for Skype. At the time, Skype was the king of video calling. Everyone used it. It was a verb. You did not video call someone, you Skyped them. But there was a problem. The product was rotting from the inside. It was slow. It crashed, and the world was moving to mobile phones, while Skype was still stuck on clumsy desktop computers. Microsoft took Skype and tried to force it into everything. They shoved it into Windows. They shoved it into Xbox. But they forgot to make it actually work well. While Microsoft was busy having meetings about synergy, a tiny company called Zoom was building a video app that just worked. Then WhatsApp arrived. Then FaceTime arrived. Fast forward to 2020. The entire world went into lockdown. Every human on Earth needed to make video calls. This should have been Skype's golden moment. It should have been their victory lap. Instead, nobody used Skype. Everyone used Zoom. Microsoft had to quietly kill Skype and replace it with Microsoft Teams. They paid $8 billion for a logo that is now gathering dust in the digital graveyard. And finally, let us visit the saddest missed connection in history: Atari and Nintendo. In 1983, Atari was the god of video games. They owned the market. Nintendo was just a small Japanese card company trying to sell a new console called the Famicom. Nintendo came to Atari and offered a deal. They said, "We will let you distribute our console in America. You can put your name on it. You can take the profits. We just want to make the games." It was the deal of the century. Atari would have owned the Nintendo Entertainment System, but during the meeting, an Atari executive threw a tantrum because he saw the game Donkey Kong running on a competitor's computer. He thought Nintendo was double-crossing him. The deal fell apart over a petty argument. 2 years later, the video game market crashed. Atari collapsed. They buried thousands of unsold ET game cartridges in a landfill in New Mexico. Meanwhile, Nintendo released the NES in America on their own. It became the best-selling console of its time. Nintendo saved the video game industry. Atari became a history lesson. They had the chance to own Mario and Zelda. Instead, they chose to own a pile of dirt in the desert. The proof is in the timeline. These companies did not fail because of bad luck. They failed because they were looking in the rearview mirror while driving at 100 miles per hour. They thought their past success guaranteed their future survival. And that is the most expensive assumption you can ever make. So what have we learned today? We learned that you do not need to be smart to be a CEO. You just need a lot of confidence and other people's money. We learned that the biggest numbers on a spreadsheet often hide the smallest brains. If you enjoyed watching billionaires humiliate themselves, or if this video saved you from buying a company that is currently on fire, please hit that subscribe button for Arca Insight. We dig through the financial trash so you do not have to. Like the video and leave a comment telling us which deal was the stupidest. And remember this final thought. Right now, at this very second, in a glass conference room somewhere in New York or Silicon Valley, a group of men in expensive suits are shaking hands. They are smiling for the cameras. They are signing a deal worth billions of dollars. And 10 years from now, we will probably be making a video about how they ruined everything. Intelligence is not wisdom. A high IQ does not protect you from greed. And sometimes, the best business deal you can make is the one you walk away from. This is Arca Insight. Keep your eyes open and keep your wallet closed.